Hi guys, thanks for visiting my channel. Today we're going to be making the orange date cardamom preserves that I showed you in my video about my canning pantry. Many of you contacted me and said that you would be interested in learning how to do that, and I think it's very appropriate for Christmas time. This preserve is so delicious and would be perfect for this time of year. It's seasoned with cardamom and cinnamon, which are the perfect spices that we think of this time of year. And then of course it has dates and orange and a vanilla bean, some sugar, and some honey. So it's really super delicious. This recipe is going to be a little bit different than any of the other jams and jellies that I have shared on my channel. This one, we are not going to use any added pectin. You are going to cook this over medium heat to the gelling point. So we'll have to do some testing to see when it's ready. I did want to mention, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. This recipe is from the all-new Ball Book of Canning and Preserving. And in the book, they also include a whole section on page 17 that talks about jams and jellies and testing for the set. So they are explained in here what we need to look for to make sure it is at the proper stage for a preserve. So that's what we're going to be doing. We are going to start out with our orange segments and just a little bit of water, and we need to cook those down until most of the sections are broken down. Now you're going to start by sectioning your oranges. To do that, you cut off the top and the bottom, and then you're going to cut around the orange, removing as much of the pith as possible. And then you're going to cut in between the membranes and remove the sections of your orange. You want to make sure you use a really sharp knife to do this. And it's going to take about, we need 6 cups of oranges, and that takes about, I had used about 15 oranges about this size. The Ball Book says 3.5 to 4 pounds of oranges. Mine was definitely at least 4 pounds of oranges that I used. The skin on the ones I got seemed to be pretty thick, so there's some extra weight there in the skin. So anyway, you're gonna need at least 4 pounds of oranges depending on the size and how thick the skin is. So you're gonna measure out 6 cups. Now, just a little tip, don't throw away your peels because it is this glorious time of year. What you can do is you can put them in a saucepan with some water and a couple of cinnamon sticks, and and some cloves, and it will make your house smell totally amazing during the holidays. So don't throw those away. If you want and you're not going to use them right away, just put them in a freezer bag, pop them in the freezer, and then when you want to make your house smell like the holidays, you can pull some of those out, and like I said, add a cinnamon stick, some whole cloves, and simmer some water on the stove with the peels and the spices in there, and it will smell amazing. So no waste here. Love that. So we're going to get started by taking our 6 cups of orange segments. We're going to add those to our pan, and we're going to add 1/2 cup of water. And then we're going to turn our heat onto a medium-high heat. Bring them up to a boil, and then reduce the heat to a full simmer and let them simmer until the orange segments start breaking down. And you can use a potato masher to help the orange segments break down. And then when I bring you back, we're going to add some other delicious yummies to our preserves. Okay guys, I brought you in close so you can see a little bit better. Our oranges have broken down really nicely. Hopefully you can see that okay. I didn't even have to use a potato masher on them. So now we are going to add our other ingredients. Okay, so we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. We're going to add 2 cups of pitted and coarsely chopped dates. I just chopped them about 1/4 to 1/2 inch pieces. So we're going to add those. We're going to add 2 cups of sugar. Give that a stir. And then we're going to add the juice and the zest of 1 lemon. We're also going to add a half of a cup of honey. And then we're going to split open a vanilla bean. You guys have seen me do this many times. And take out the seeds. We're going to put the pod in there and all of the bean, the insides, the seeds. We're going to give that a stir, and we're going to let this cook over medium heat until a gelling point. So when we get there, I'll bring you back and show you how to check to see if it has gelled, to see if it's ready for canning. Oh, the other thing we have to add, sorry, getting ahead of myself again here, we need a teaspoon and a half of cardamom, ground cardamom. And we also need a half of a teaspoon of cinnamon. Okay, now we're ready to give it a stir, and we're gonna let it simmer on about a medium heat until it starts to gel. And like I said, I'll bring you back and I will show you how we're gonna check to see if it is at the gelling point. Okay guys, we've reached 220 degrees, which is considered the gelling point for preserves like this. And I also did the plate test, and I'll include a picture of that for you too, but you just scoop a little bit out onto a frozen plate, put it back in the freezer, and then run your finger through it, and if it holds its shape, it's at the gelling point. So we are good. So I'm gonna get my jars and canner ready, and we will be ready to do some canning. Okay, because it is the holidays and I'm feeling a little extra, we're gonna do one more thing before we can it, and I am going to add some delicious Grand Marnier again to this preserve. Now we used it in the Christmas jam, and I'm also going to use just a couple of tablespoons in these preserves, but you could use any orange liqueur here. It would be absolutely delicious. So there we go, next up, canning. Okay guys, we are ready for canning. This preserve is so delicious. I hope that you will give them a try. They're kind of exotic tasting with the dates and the orange, and then the cardamom really makes it kind of an exotic feel to it. This is delicious stirred into oatmeal. I have been known to use it in oatmeal. It's really great that way. It's also great on toast, and anyway, anywhere you would use a preserve or jams, it's delicious. And it would also be great to glaze meat. So anyway, back to canning. Modern canning guidelines state that if you're canning for 10 minutes or longer, you do not need to pre-sterilize your lids and jars. So I've just washed mine, and I'm keeping them hot in hot water in my sink here. And we should get 5 to maybe 6 half-pint jars. So here we go. Just as a reminder, I'm steam canning, so I have 3 quarts of water in the bottom of my steam canner that is simmering. If you are water bath canning, you want to make sure you have enough water in your canner that will cover your jars by 1 to 2 inches, and it should be simmering as well. So here we go, we are ready. Grab some jars. And we're looking for a 1/4 inch headspace. Okay, and then once you fill your jars to a 1/4 inch headspace, you're going to debubble. And you always want to obviously wipe the rim of your jar, but when you're doing anything sticky, you want to give it extra special attention. So I always dip a cloth in white vinegar and really make sure to go around the rim so that nothing will interfere with my seal. And then we're going to add our lids. And rings fingertip tight. Okay, I got 4 half-pint jars and some change. I want to leave some out so that I can show it to you. So I've got my 4 half-pint jars in there. We're going to add the lid to our canner. Crank up the heat to high, and when we get to in steam canning, for this canner anyway, you're going to look for, it has the gauge on top. And it has a green section, and once you're up to temperature, it will be in that green section, and then we can start timing. If you are water bath canning, you want to make sure your water covers your jars by 1 to 2 inches, and it needs to come up to a full rolling boil before you start your processing time. Okay guys, my canner is up to temperature, so I can go ahead and set my timer for 10 minutes. And if you're water bath canning, it's the same. So we will process for 10 minutes. Once our 10 minutes are up, we'll turn the heat off, remove our lid, let our jars cool in the canner for 5 minutes, and then we can see our delicious preserves. One more thing, I always try to remember to remind you guys that you want to adjust your heat just so it maintains a full rolling boil for water bath canning, or it's just enough to stay in your green zone for steam canning. You do not want it boiling so vigorously that it wants to pop the lid off. So just a reminder there to adjust your heat. And hey guys, our time is up. We processed for 10 minutes, and then I turned the heat off and removed the lid, and my jars have been sitting in my canner for 5 minutes. So now we are ready to see our beautiful preserves. Now, I do have to say that they're really not much to look at because the orange turns a darker color and it takes on the color of the dates, but boy, are they just so delicious. Doesn't that look great? So good. It's hard to describe the taste to you. If you like the warmth of cardamom and you enjoy dates, you will love this. And one of the ways that it would be fantastic, I haven't tried this, but I make a raisin filled cookie. This would be a fantastic filling for that type of a cookie. And then thumbprint cookies are really popular at Christmas time. This would be a delicious preserve to use for that as well. But like I said, it's delicious mixed in oatmeal, delicious on toast. It would be fantastic as a glaze for meat. All doesn't really give any ideas for using it. Usually with most recipes, they include a couple ideas for ways to use it. They really didn't on this. They just say it's a Turkish inspired preserve. And it is, I would say that it's exotic tasting like that, but it is really delicious. So if you're looking for something fun and different for the holidays, I highly encourage you to give it a try. But I did want to give you a close-up. Now obviously this is not set yet, so maybe you can see a little bit better, but you can still see the orange, and then you have the chunks of dates in there, and you can see a little bit of the lemon zest. But they're really just so delicious. Because of the honey in there and the spice, it kind of reminds me of the flavor of baklava. It has that same kind of syrupy, it doesn't have the nuts in it obviously, but it has that same kind of syrupy taste and texture to it as like the filling in baklava minus the nuts. So anyway, it's just really delicious, and so I highly encourage you to give it a try if you want to try something new for the holidays. It's perfect for this time of year. Really delicious. So I hope you'll give it a try. If you have any questions or comments for me, feel free to leave them in the comment section. Thank you so much for liking, subscribing, and sharing, and I hope to see you next time. Have a great day.